Boom, we're live. Let me check if everything works. Yeah, we're live. So hello cosmonauts, hello chat. Today we have an extremely special episode and I'm personally a bit nervous, extremely excited. This has been in the works for a couple of months and Jay promised to come on my show and he kept his promise. So here we are. Jay Kwon, everybody, the founder of Cosmos, along with Ethan Buckman, who has been on my channel as well a couple of times. Yeah, we have a lot to talk today about his new project, Gnoland, that he's working on, but also curious to hear his thoughts about the Cosmos Hub. Obviously, a lot of questions about also the atom economics and just Cosmos as a whole, because he's the man who started it all. So, Jay, really honored to have you on. How is everything going on your end?
Hi, thank you for having me. Sorry I'm not showing myself, but I do like my privacy. So I'm doing great. Been holed up programming for the most part, and like in that cave, so to speak. And yeah, this is the first time I'm really talking to the world in over a year, I think, right? So great to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that you chose Cryptocito to be the spot to come back. And yeah, I also see that you're super active on Twitter recently and have a lot of comments also about other networks in Cosmos, right? Juno, for example, there has been a lot of cool stuff that's been going on there. Also the NFT side of things. So there's a lot we can talk about. But I think first, so I thought we tackle this in three categories, basically. The first one, we talk all things Gnoland. You've been pretty public about it, especially in the recent days, and very excited about it. And there's also some stuff that you can walk us through on the Gno.land site. Then I thought we'd talk about Cosmos Hub and Atom, your thoughts about that. And then lastly, a little bit your general crypto thoughts, how you view the market, how you also view macro developments evolving. And then lastly, and this also I encourage everybody in the chat here, we almost have 100 people. That's really a lot so early in this interview. Yeah, community can ask questions. I collected also questions on Twitter. So yeah, I think that's a cool timeline. But yeah, first of all, let's talk about Gnoland. Maybe first off, you can share a little bit about kind of like the general purpose of the project, why you started in the first place, and what's your goal in the mid or long term with Gnoland.
Okay, thank you for that. So I've been programming for a while now, and at first I looked at, this is way back, right? Like before proof of stake was even a thing. Or maybe there were some proof of stake coins like Pure Coin or PP Coin, NXT, and I come from a background of JavaScript. I mean, I've used a lot of programming languages in my time, but I settled on JavaScript and that ecosystem with NPM. And before that it was Python. And I loved good frameworks. Like, it seemed like frameworks had so much power. They had so much utility and ability to make application building easy. And I wanted something like that for the blockchain space because I knew that Bitcoin, is a thing, but doesn't really help you create other coins, other blockchains or decentralized databases. So I started looking for alternatives and then found Go, settled on Go as a language because after exploring quite a few, I really like the trade-offs that it makes. So I wanted a framework in Go. And the Cosmos SDK and Tendermint are testament to that. It works really well, but there's this level of ease of application building that isn't like quite possible without another virtual machine or a language. So you can program your blockchain application using the Cosmos SDK and Golang, and it would be a wonderful experience. But if you have to program it in the right way, otherwise non-determinism will cause your blockchain to halt, for example. So you have to get determinism right, but then there's also this other aspect that always bothered me as a programmer, which is like how to persist your objects. Because a lot of the complexity of programming, and this is true also in like Web 2.0, traditional web programming, like a big chunk of it is just dedicated to figuring out how to persist things, data, and retrieve them back and construct an in-memory representation in the language that you're familiar with. And so that database and ORM industry is huge. Now, when I was first learning how to program these things and trying to find like nice frameworks that make it all accessible, I kind of wanted this type of system that would make ORMs and databases kind of seamless with the language. I didn't quite know what it was or how to get there. I just had this inkling. So I was exploring languages for a while, and then Cosmos and Tendermint. And then about a year and a half ago, I realized, okay, it's time to start building this thing out. And I wasn't quite sure what I was building at first, but it turned out to be essentially a new virtual machine, a platform that lets you program in a really intuitive way, where you don't have to worry about persistence nearly as much. And there's no need for databases or ORMs. You just program in Go, and the language features are like just well integrated with the system, so that you can read a contract and just understand how it works. I'm rambling here.
Yes, I think it would be cool if you could explain a little bit more, also maybe for the non-developers out there, including myself. I'm not a developer. I'm more of a community guy. How does Go compare? What functionalities does it enable compared to, for example, Solidity, which is what the EVM uses, right? Or Rust or any other programming language that's pretty common right now in the crypto space. I think especially Solidity and Rust are the ones that are widely adopted. And why do you think Go is the next kind of like inevitable step in this evolution that blockchain, the whole blockchain industry is taking?
Yeah. Well, I think I see Solidity and this GNO platform as like two in a class that like isn't really met by other systems. Not even the Cosmos SDK by itself. And what I mean is like, first of all, you don't have to worry about how you program. So it's just a deterministic from the get-go. What languages, what platforms really provide that? Like Solidity does, right? It's determinism is built in from the beginning. Native Go doesn't. So that's one aspect. Another is like the garbage collector is pretty like, I get this debate between like Go and Rust and these languages and paradigms, but when it comes down to it, like when you're trying to solve the kind of problem that Ethereum was trying to solve, which is very similar to the kind of problem that Gnoland is trying to solve, like you need a simplicity to the language. And if you look at the adoption of languages, just generally speaking, like what languages are doing well in terms of adoption, the answer really is actually JavaScript, right? Like in terms of making programming accessible to people. It's not C++. It's not a language where you have to manage your memory because the garbage collector is sufficient. If you look at the kind of thing that Ethereum and Gnoland are trying to create, you don't need the speed of Rust. So you don't need the complexity of like memory management. Because if you look at what Gnoland is doing under the hood, like garbage collection is sufficient. And it makes everything really simple overall. So it occupies a niche that's needed in the industry. So I think that's why I'm bullish. I'm sure there's a need for everything else too. But it's just that making things accessible. I think this is the right way. But then the problem is like between Solidity and other languages. Why would you want to use Solidity if it's a great language, it's pioneering, in blockchain programming, but wouldn't you rather try in a language that has massive adoption already? In a language that you already know, has a well-written spec, is like basically done and simple enough, all of that. If you can imagine programming in that language without, concerns for persistence, just in memory, and under the hood, everything happens for you, like accessibility, like object capability, style, accessibility, security, and auto Merkleization. So you can construct a Merkle proof just based on the object graph that you created. Then, I don't see how it can get any simpler. Your contracts are so concise, and it seems like this is the way to go.
So it sounds like your two main arguments is, number one, the simplicity of the language, that it's very easy and straightforward and intuitive to write applications, which on other languages and other virtual machines might be a bit of a hassle. It requires a lot of training, a lot of documentation and explanations. And your second argument is that it's also already widely adopted, right? The Go language, which is kind of like the base layer for Gnoland. How does Cosmwasm fit into this? I mean, Cosmwasm is currently the kind of like the premier smart contract platform in Cosmos, right? So how does it compare to how does Gnoland compare to Cosmwasm and chains that implement Cosmwasm in Cosmos?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, I'm not an expert on that ecosystem, but from what I've seen, I gather that most of the adoption of WASM as a base comes from Rust, and maybe C, I don't know, but I don't believe it's Go, because there isn't, when I looked, I've been looking for a while, and like every time I look, it's the case that there's no good compiler to get from Go to WASM that's performant and like production ready. But if you look at the implementation of Gnoland, like, it's getting there. It's so simple. Like, there's so many things I want to talk about, but like, it's going to get lost in the weeds. But like, once I spent a whole year like programming an interpreter, a JavaScript interpreter, because it was fun. This time, this is a Go interpreter, and what am I trying to say? Like, it interprets the AST directly, like the abstract syntax tree language. Like, I don't know of any VM that does this, but the abstract syntax tree language is like the bytecode, so to speak. So it's not bytecode, it's a tree. And so, like, from the get-go, this thing is designed to be kind of like as intuitive as possible. So if you want to tweak a language feature, it's more or less obvious how to do it. You don't have to learn like a new virtual bytecode machine as a backend before you start making changes to this language. Because if you know Go, you know how to modify this virtual machine. So that's another aspect.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds already like, and I've talked to a lot of people, everybody that I had on my show that's like in Cosmos for a long time, and when I asked them about you, they always told me, man, Jay is just a visionary. He's like, whatever he's doing today is probably, people are gonna really, really understand it in like 2, 3, 4 years. So similar with Cosmos, right? And Cosmos itself and Tendermint, which you, I think, originally invented, is probably, I think, is it the first one, or at least the first and most robust proof of stake implementation do we see out there? So yeah, I think this is something that over time people will truly get behind and also understand. But can you maybe talk about some of the, so can you talk first about how Gnoland is going to be architectured? Like, will it run on its own Cosmos chain? Will it also have its own validator set? And also talk about some of the initial use cases that you think that will be built on Gnoland.
Yeah. Thank you for that. It just, so to answer some of your questions, it will be its own chain. And the license, For all of my other projects so far have been Apache 2.0 basically. But along the way I learned, okay, if you just put things out there, then other people are gonna use it and to promote their own project, and it creates a lot of distortion in the market. And I realized maybe we should try something else. So the license so far for like Gnoland and all the packages that I've ported over are currently under this like custom license to give flexibility to the project to create partnerships and avenues of like exploration without the noise, right? So it'll definitely be its own chain. I think it would be a good idea to have the language also supported on other blockchains that want to run under virtual machines. So like I put out a poll asking Juno if Juno's interested. It seemed like a lot of people were, but then again, it's not a Juno specific poll. It's on Twitter, right? But this also seems like a good candidate for running as on replicated, simple replicated security, shared security on the Cosmos Hub. And then but what should this ecosystem really look like in terms of sustainability? And I think the answer there, that there needs to be some kind of engineering of I think license fees, to support like an ecosystem of improving languages. So maybe it makes sense for the software to be available on a lot of blockchains, but there being fees being paid to another chain, Gnoland, that is meant to support and maintain everything. So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is along the way, the reason why I'm doing this, let's talk about why for a moment, right? Maybe I didn't talk about that enough. The technical aspect is really cool, but what I really want out of it is to solve problems that we see that are real today, like countering censorship and countering cartel control of monetary supply, like owning our lives, and countering significant geopolitical forces by just offering good tech freely to everyone and making it a mission for this technology and the people that support it to create good software that's secure and simple and intuitive, scalable for everyone on the globe, basically, right? So if you look at the difference between a Cosmos Hub, which is a very for-profit design, in order to get anything out of it, once you have the atom, if you delegate it, then you earn percentage transaction fees. It's, at least the token design makes it so that, it ensures that the people who hold and delegate atoms are people who are, interested in consensus and this technology, this emerging technology. So it creates a signal to noise filter, but it's still an economic system at its core. Anyone can buy into it, right? But I don't think that's the best way to create movements. With all the DeFi, I don't really see blockchain projects really try to solve censorship problems, So I'd like to create a network of people who can help validate this thing with a shared intent to solve problems and offer the best designs and maintain this smart contract programming language. That's really all I want.
Yeah, that's I love that mission. But I still think, you've been around in this blockchain and crypto industry for nearly a decade, I guess, at this point, or around a decade probably. And it seems to be that it's a lot about money, right? Obviously, people want to make money, they want to get rich quick, but also kind of the economic, like you alluded to, the economic element within a blockchain in terms of incentivizing network participants to provide security, to decentralize the chain. How do you plan to tackle that on Gnoland? Is there going to be, I guess there will be a native token as well, and how do you structure the whole economic incentives without harming your kind of like mission to keep it open, free, and decentralized as possible? Like how do you marry the two? I guess that's my question.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Here, I'll tell you where I'm leaning. So, a lot of it's still open, but some things are clear. For example, like I know that I want this to be predominantly a fork of the atom distribution, and I know that I want to keep things really simple. I don't think it's necessary to have even inflation. Maybe a quasi-inflationary model, like I was describing with Betacoin. It's like not really exponentially inflationary. It's not deflationary. It's just got a constant supply being printed. So something simple like that, and the validators being chosen through a mechanism on chain, not an economic system, but one based on contribution. And everyone should be able to see that, oh yeah, like the people who became validators of this project, like actually contributed towards building it. Now, yeah, I also want to make sure that like it's a very complex system, this whole designing like blockchain stuff. Like if you do it wrong, then you've got people who are just like, you attract the wrong kind of people who are more in it for the money, right? Like, so there's one problem that I've been reading about recently, which is about like the centralization of validators, right? And this is the discussion happening in the Ethereum space. And someone was making the point that like a blockchain needs to be something that is easy to validate, like as a full node. You don't want to cram a lot of transactions onto a blockchain and require that the core validators of that system have beefy data centers, because it's going to centralize control. It's going to reduce the number of validators that can really take care of it. So I also like the idea of ensuring that validators on this chain like don't do that. That perhaps there's like this limitation of like how many blockchains, maybe this is the only blockchain besides Cosmos perhaps that you can validate. We can impose arbitrary restrictions like this on the validator set to ensure that we get the right people who have aligned interests.
Okay. And I think you also, I don't know if there was just a number that you put out there, but I think there was somebody asked you, how many validators do you think is enough? And I think you said 334. Is that kind of like what you think is the ideal amount of validators, or what do you think?
I think it's a good number of people, individuals, right? Individuals who are aligned. It's a good number. I don't think we need 334 validators. Maybe a subset of these people are running validators. But it's a symbolic number. It's 1 plus a third. And we're trying to, it kind of solidifies the fact that we're people interested in trying to solve problems in the world. And if we can find 334 of them, that seems manageable and yet a sizable number of people who can build technology to change the world, right? Because I think that's really the biggest choke point in this ecosystem, is attention from people who know how to produce. And we've got a situation where the old monetary regime is showing its cracks. Even seems like a lot of people who have wealth and power want to see this transition. It almost feels a little too quick and sudden. Like, how can this, most people don't even know how to use Bitcoin yet, right?
Let's talk a little bit. You just teased a little bit that ideally you want Gno to be a fork in terms of distribution of Atom. Can you talk a little bit more about the rollout distribution? I think you also tweeted a couple of times that you're trying to do a snapshot of the Atom chain and also weigh in sort of like governance participation. Can you talk a little bit through the kind of like economics of the No token, how it will be rolled out. I don't know if you have already concrete plans there, and if possible, also like a rough timeline. I know it's always hard to talk about these things, but like if there's just some rough idea, like how you think this will all materialize.
Mm-hmm. In terms of getting a distribution, I think that's going to happen pretty quickly. Like, I just need help from, say, the Osmosis team, for example, to help create a distribution. So it's like, we just need to decide on a date, right? Then, yeah, I think, I don't have a concrete date just yet, so please, keep in touch on Gnoland. But it's not going to take that much more work. What was your other question? You asked another part.
The rough like economics around the No token in terms of supply, some numbers. Maybe you can share some more.
A lot of this was already written on the plan document. There's a plan.md file. Over there, what I was saying was that there would be a pre-mine of tokens. So it's basically a fork of Atom, right? And there's a pre-mine I was saying between a quarter to a third, but I think, a quarter seems quite large. It might even, it might make more sense to do less than that. Right now, like, we have people who are contributing to this project, and they're just making fantastic PRs and contributions. They're also interacting with the chain. I keep resetting the main chains. If you go to Gno.land, that data gets wiped occasionally. But as people make contributions, I'm making note. All of the people who are making contributions through PRs and following completing tasks are going to get some of the pre-mine tokens, or quite a large portion of it. I haven't figured out what the pre-mine tokens will most be used for. Like, there's so much to do, like going from just creating like working groups to implement better voting systems using smart contracts to like hardware security. And, there's just too many things that could be done. So, I want to try to, limit the scope of what to do with any pre-mine tokens, but it's all going to happen on the chain. So as you follow the discussions, it'll become more clear. Other than that, it's just Atom tokens. It's a fork of the Atom distribution.
Okay.
I hope that there's no need to use, to do anything like dramatic, like slashing people, right? Like, because I do think it's a really important tool to use in launching new chains. Like, a big part of why blockchains are important in society is that it's open and anyone can copy it, modify it, and do whatever they want to whatever effect they want. And this is the new world we live in, and I think it's great because it creates an environment of making it difficult to capture. Now, I think it's also important that groups, like decentralized groups, remain focused on like their story and what they want to build. And a big part of of that is quite frankly like the threat of slashing or exit and changing the distribution. Like proof of stake by core is based on punitive measures, right? Like, yeah. But is it really punitive when you're just creating a new distribution and people volunteer to choose that new distribution because they like it more, right? So, it's this strange world we live in now where you get the balance of punitive measures and gifting. And I think it's important for us to explore this space. And so I'm open to changing the distribution depending on what happens to the Cosmos Hub. If people try to introduce, measures that are not secure, then I'd like to see a divergence of the community, and so that people can choose according to their wallet to see what kind of ecosystem they want to develop.
Yeah, so for all the nearly 130 people that are listening, any cool ideas, feedbacks, or thoughts, and looked into the documentation, then feel free to, I guess, reach out via Twitter, or I think there's also a Telegram group, right, where you exchange some ideas. Or I think you can also do it now directly on the website, right? So if you mind, I can bring on your screen, and then you can walk us through a little bit some of the things that you can do there, and how you can also provide some sort of feedback to propose improvements, ideas, thoughts, and whatnot.
All right, thank you. So let's see if this works. There's a demo. So this website is going to list everything you need to know to get started. The one I want to show you right now is this package called boards. So Gnoland, R meaning realm package. Realm means it's got its own data. It's basically like a smart contract. It's got its own space. It needs to pay for the persistent data space. It can host functions that you can call. And the boards smart contract here, it's only got one file. It's pretty simple. It's Go. So it doesn't, with a very small modification, it would compile and Go, right? I'm not going to go through all the functionality of it, because I'll show you another one that's a lot simpler. But I'm going to show you the boards realm running. So when I hit that button, so there's a colon afterwards, after the path, boards colon, it'll render. It'll call the render function, and this is showing all the boards of discussion, so to speak, that have been created here. And this is just a demo app where we're communicating. Right? So you see some posts, and here's a task, for example. It's saying, go out there and write in your own words why you're interested in know, and then link back to it. So it looks like some people have commented. So this website is connected to a blockchain that has, that is interpreting Gno code to render this markdown file. And the way to interact with it is by signing transactions locally. So if you hit the reply button, what it's doing is it's pre-filling some fields. This will be a text area, but you can enter whatever comment you want to write, and run it on your console right now. It's simple enough. Want to show you another contract that's a lot simpler. So if you look at bank test, let's look at the public functions. You'll see that there are two public facing functions here. This is dynamically generated based on like the function specification. I'll show you the code later. This is the render function, ignore that part. But all this does is that you can deposit, you can send coins with it by filling in how many coins you want to send here, and then you can get a return of those coins back, however many you want. And if you want to see how it works, this is it, right? So just to go over some Gno internals, I'll kind of describe what's going on. Every package can have like its state, right? So in this R bank test realm package, it's got its own data realm. The only thing it stores, the only state it has, is this latest variable, and that's it, really. So when you copy paste that command I showed you earlier, which was generated by this function declaration, it will update the activity and give you the coins back that you wanted. And then let's go see what the render does, because it'll track the activity. So go to bank test.
This is currently running on the testnet, or?
Yeah, this is basically running on the testnet. Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, it's running the interpreter. So it looks like someone made another contribution here. And then if you want to upload your own module for testing, I mean, the best way to do it is locally, so you can run this locally. But if you want to try locally, or if you want to try on Gnoland, which is a testnet for now, then you can follow this guide, which is rendered in Markdown and was uploaded using the functions that you see here. That's really it. This is a really simple website. It's just like this blank slate where Go, code, and objects can live. And we're going to keep evolving this to the point where it's properly decentralized. People who are contributing to it, who are validating, become validators. And we're going to improve this no smart contract system, make it solid, and get other chains to adopt it. And we're going to use it to actually develop good social project applications, like, good governance applications. You try liquid democracy demos, create your own social network with whatever NFT token you want, like everything that you want. Why not just write it and go? It's going to last. That's it.
Yeah, I think you also called Elon Musk, Elon Musk and the Twitter crew to see if they'd be interested to build on Gnoland. So yeah, let's see. I mean, there's, like I said earlier, I mean, right now the world is a little bit. I'll take that off. Right now the world is a little bit shaky, I guess. A lot of crazy things are happening, and I think the demand for more decentralization on every single aspect, whether that's social media, whether that's money itself, the way we communicate, the way we transfer value and information, I think it's overdue for a big change. So before we move on, is there anything else that you would like to share about Gnoland before we move on to talk about the Cosmos Hub and Atom?
Let's see.
I was just saying, I guess the call to action here, also from your little demo here, is for people that are tuning in now. Please use it. I'm actually going to share the link right now in the chat so people can play around with it and also provide feedback. So I think that's the whole point. So, but yeah, please go ahead, share the link.
Yeah. Well, check out the GitHub, please. Right now, what we really need is more people using it, and especially people who will be excited about it enough to provide contributions. If you provide real improvement PRs, then you'll become part of the network, right? So
all right,
that's it. Check out the let's see. Yeah, just comment, like on the Gnoland subboard. There's a task some people have written here. What I'd really like to see is like a technical piece and why you're like excited about the technical aspect, if you can understand it, right? So it's kind of like considered as like an application almost. Check it out. Thank you.
Cool. And there's a question in that context from Washington 300. What about non-coding people? How could they get involved? Could they contribute anything already, or is that still too early?
If you tell your friends, that will help create that network effect. Learning Go would be a good start. It's a great language to learn. I know not everyone can learn programming languages, but it's definitely going to be a good start for when this becomes available for scripting, smart contract scripting for production. And just try to follow and read the code, what else? Well, even if you're not coding, there's so much that needs to be done in terms of like specifying how an open organization should work, how treasury management should work, how task management should work, how to keep organizations accountable, right? Given like a goal for that organization, and then managing a whole lot of them that are interconnected. How do you create an open, accountable society? Any thoughts and design? It's going to lead to design decisions down the line, and we want to implement those things so that we can better coordinate among ourselves, right? So that's where we're trying to get to.
Is there any, so what's the best place to stay up to date with everything? And what's the best place to share and exchange these ideas? Is there any sort of like community chat or any sort of like group where people can join, or not yet?
Well, if you look at the GitHub, there's the Telegram chats, but we should transition off to using the boards app itself. And if someone wants to create a better one, fork that one, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
There's definitely need for better like mobile integration too. So like those are tasks that like will probably require people for us to have like specific like negotiations with. But I'm also interested in that. Really, what we're looking for are people who are attracted by the idea of like the simplicity of the system and want to channel that to all aspects of like our the usage surface area, including mobile apps, right? So if you're excited about it, then definitely keep checking it, and please try to provide your contributions, and we'll add it to the whole system.
Yeah, Clay's already saying he would love to help and wants to learn coding. So there we go. But yeah, let's move on and talk a little bit about the Cosmos Hub and Atom, the first chain that went live using Cosmos technology, so to speak. And I think you're a big proponent of this chain minimalism idea, so that the Cosmos Hub should kind of like be a very kind of like robust chain that doesn't have too many features, because it would make it too complex. It would make it also probably more vulnerable. One big thing that I think is currently being debated is the implementation of CosmWasm on top of the Cosmos Hub, which I think one side of the argument is to have easier implementations of liquid staking module, for example. But I think your thought process is more to have less functionalities on the hub, and potentially, I guess that's where it's going to, that the hub is rather a security source to provide services for other chains in the interchain. Maybe you can share your thoughts on how you view the Cosmos Hub as of today, and how you think it should be positioned over the next years as this whole interchain economy is booming and expanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. I think I'm worried about the way that the space is evolving, because if everyone's just chasing yield, and like there's so much demand for it, it turns into this casino almost. We lose sight of the real value that could be created by focusing too much on yield generation. I think a lot of times too, if you try to really think about where the value of that yield generating thing comes from, you'll maybe come to the conclusion that it's a nice gimmick, but it's not sufficient. So here's what I mean. Like when it comes to staking, like liquid staking it kind of undermines the security a little bit. And if you do it well and simply, if you don't put too much focus on it, and it's not like the biggest thing, right? Then it can provide real value, but the value that it should be providing it's not that much that it's the biggest application. It should have limited utility, at least when it comes to liquid staking. Like, I see great value in shared security through the hub, but what that to me means, and maybe we're talking about different things or like the same thing in different words, and we're all confused about terminology. But the thing I would really like to see is new functionality being offered on other zones through IBC, and I'd love to see the Cosmos Hub be as simple as possible that bootstraps this ecosystem, where its main task is to provide security in the case of systemic fault. Like, blockchain can fail. We haven't really seen a big instance of it, but one day these things are going to start failing, and imagine the cascading failures that we don't even understand yet. But if you have a hub that a lot of blockchains agree to yield some to be more to open up to its suggestions for how to fix the situation, then you have a more robust system. So like, okay, here's another way to put it. Like if you have a peg zone to a proof of work chain, like, I think that's a really bad situation to like peg between proof of work, proof of stake. At some degree it's necessary, but at the same time, like you're not going to get the same kind of flexibility that you might get if they were all part of a proof of stake system where there's a common ground for all the stakeholders of various chains, different, tokens have, this jurisdiction where they can delegate to. Then, then the solution would be singular, and the chains can adopt it together, and there will be order in that system. So now you lose that capability when you have a hub that's starting to add too many features that aren't, as like ground changing, and like really adding the surface area of complexity to it. Then it loses its shelling point. It loses its purpose of being. It's like, to me, it demonstrates that it's losing focus. And so here's an example, another example. And I'm sorry I keep meandering, but it's like hard to put these to words, right? Like with Gnoland, I don't want Gnoland to be this token hub to compete with the Cosmos hub for that function, because it's not our specialty. The specialty of Gnoland is smart contract programming, right? And it would also want to incentivize like the security of Tendermint and like the underlying consensus layer, but like at its core, it wants to support a rich ecosystem of applications and focus on this language. So it wants to have a hub that it can dedicate, it can promote, and kind of just have that almost be its only like IBC connection when it comes to tokens. It wants to delegate that complexity away, and I would be happy to see that happen if the Cosmos hub stays minimal. If it starts to like meander from it and lose its like centrality in the shelling point of this like interchain, custodial financial infrastructure, then someone else should fork it, right? And then we would all like, a lot of chains will want that, right? So I'm happy to see, and I'm just one individual. Maybe I have something missing, right? But these are just my opinions, and we'll see where the chips fall.
What would you say to this thought that through earning extra yield and providing that opportunity in this highly competitive blockchain space that we're in, right, where people, I think 90% plus are in it to generate cash flow, to earn yield, right? And that's also very exciting and really cool, because you can generate yield directly through a protocol by interacting with code online. So, and I think that's a shift in a paradigm shift in the way we think about finances and monetary systems. So what do we say to that thought, that by adding at least a little, kind of like more opportunities for Atom people to earn more yield, you could kind of like accelerate the adoption for the Cosmos hub, which would actually positively impact the hub's role as a security, because the decentralization rises, we have more token holders, we have a higher market cap, which would then be a net positive for the hub's positioning as a security source, which could eventually be the end goal. And I'm very new to the Cosmos community, but it seems to me that especially over the past 12 months, I would say, a lot of ideas that were originally planned to be deployed on the Cosmos hub have been kind of like shifted away, and now it seems like the core teams that are working on it rather focus on actually making the hub this security source. But at the same time, we have to play a little bit this, kind of like DeFi degen game. So what would you say about that point?
Well, do we really like? I'm gonna keep stepping, pushing back on it because yield. You're probably earning yield in another, in the token whose success you're betting on. So ultimately, if you take away the yield aspect, you're still betting on a platform or a special token. And it's like this race to the bottom because one of them is going to be successful, and there would be some churn. But ultimately, I think 5 to 10 years in the future, where you want to be is you want to have bet on the thing that is actually generating real value. And what is that real value going to look like? It's going to look like massive scalability, right? Of like people who are happy with paying a small transaction fee and things just work, right? And every chain is properly limited in its scope. And so how do you, I think, and that system that's well functioning, well scaling, secure, sufficiently modularized and minimal, it's also going to solve real societal problems too, because it will be providing, the plumbing for our social coordination. I'm just looking at yields like, well, okay, what about that other thing?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand that, Chase. But I think that this will be a better bet than trying to predict what the next DeFi yield application is going to be. I think it's better to look at the fundamentals and build out there. So I'll stand my ground for now.
Fair point. So what are your thoughts on how the Cosmos Hub is being developed right now? I mean, like I said, I feel like, this proposal was like sometime in late summer last year to implement the gravity DEX on the Cosmos Hub, and it went through, and now they're actually reverting it and, getting the gravity DEX off of the Cosmos Hub on its own chain and rebranded to Crescent. And I think the development and focus on interchain security has been, kind of like the main mission of the core development teams. I think primarily the ICF and also Informal Systems that are working on this. So what are your thoughts on how do you truly see the Cosmos Hub as it's being developed right now? You said it worries you a little bit, but do you think that we're now on the right track and that Atom and the Cosmos Hub is kind of like fulfilling the true mission as you also originally intended it? Or do you think we're far off from the original idea of what the Cosmos Hub is?
I'm really hopeful about the work that's being done now. The infrastructure that's coming with shared security looks very promising. If we can get more chains to launch easily, that's great. And I'm also looking forward to what else is there? When IBC launched, that was pretty exciting. So I'm glad that the ICF was able to coordinate that. I think now what we need to do is solve this problem about how to structure the hub and the chains that are shared security validated with it. Once we have shared security, which people like Jahan are working on, and also there's Saga, which is going to experiment with that, and I'm sure Ignite is working on similar tooling too. Then things will look. It'll be very apparent that the engine is working. So I think it's great. Worst case, you want to put Wasm on the hub, that's okay too. We can still fork the distribution and create different communities focus on different things. So I'm very optimistic about the Cosmos ecosystem. I want to continue supporting the Cosmos Hub through Gnoland, and also, like I mentioned, it's predominantly going to be airdropped in terms of the tokens to Atom holders. So I want to continue investing in this community. I think the work that we're doing is unique in this space because we're making real good software, and if we continue to focus on making quality software and making it secure and simple, then everything will follow. So,
is interchain security something that you might also consider for Gnoland to extra secure the Gnoland chain?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm kind of split myself on this respect, so I haven't figured out exactly how this will go. But one scenario looks like this: like we create the GNOT tokens, and it runs on basically the existing Cosmos SDK and Tendermint, right? Connected to IBC, and it should work out of the box, right? And then slowly we can also implement. So meaning, there's a token. We can it's also easy to integrate like the message, the virtual machine Cosmos SDK module code into the existing Cosmos SDK. So like I'm thinking of maybe a hybrid approach where we start with the existing Cosmos SDK and Tendermint software, and then maintaining two branches, because basically what I'm trying to say is there's this fork of Tendermint and the SDK that is embedded inside the Gnoland repo. And there's a lot of good changes that were made there, by me in the past year and a half, where like, I think it continues the direction of like code cleanliness and feature support that I think should also be merged with the work being done at the Cosmos SDK. So, we have to figure that out, but probably there will be IBC support soon after. It's not going to be I don't think it's going to be the very first focus, but it will be a focus after that. And then when it comes to like IBC with no smart contracts, with like querying for state on other node chains, that's going to require a bit more work, because the Merkleization algorithm used here is different than the one used by the Cosmos Hub for token tracking, the IAVL tree. So that proof system will need to be developed, but I'm sure people will want that, so it'll be incentivizing. Once we have that, and we have 334 people and the validators running, we're gonna try to see more people scaling with proofs of state between these node chains. Yeah, that's down the line.
Count me in on that, Jay. I'm on board. And speaking a little bit about IBC, I think one thought is also to make the Cosmos Hub kind of like an IBC routing terminal. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's also a use case for the Cosmos Hub and Atom? And do you see other interchange services that the Cosmos Hub could provide that most people might not even have on their radar yet? What are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So I think, okay, so first of all, let's get I want to be clear in the terminology. I think those features should be implemented on another chain that is secured by the Cosmos Hub validators. Now, you need better language to talk about this stuff. So, on the one hand, it's running on the Cosmos Hub. On the other hand, it's not, strictly speaking. And I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface on IBC, because a big part of it is token transfers. Another big part of it is just passing messages, yeah. But like fundamentally what it's about is proving the state of another chain. And if you have a language like Gnoland and an object system, that it helps you maintain. There's going to be a lot of use cases for proving the state of one chain to another. So anytime you have like a need for an escrow or like inter-contract transactions, like I'm sure there will be need for IBC message and state proof routing. And if the Cosmos Hub wants to solve that for the ecosystem, then we'll be happy to use it, right? Yeah, the nice thing with Gnoland is like just by having it focus strictly on its language and like creating the just maintaining what already exists on Gno.land in terms of functionality, just focusing on that, you kind of leave a lot of the aspects to the ecosystem to solve, and I'm sure the Cosmos Hub will want to play that role, and there's good reason to implement that not in Gno but in Go itself, for speed, for example. So yeah.
Okay.
Not to say, by the way, that Gno is that much slower, but I think when it comes to like core utility where lots of messages are involved, like there might be a slight advantage to implementing that in Go or other languages. Anyways.
All right. And I mean, I get this question a lot. I think you're probably already like tired of it. But what are your thoughts? I'm still going to ask you now that you're here. What are your thoughts about eventually kind of like fundamentally changing the tokenomics of the Atom? Currently, it has a dynamic inflation rate that's pegged to the staking ratio to incentivize people to secure the chain. And a lot of people, are not satisfied with it. And we talked about this earlier and how, yield is kind of like a secondary thing. But what are your thoughts on the current economics of the Atom? And do you think there needs to be some sort of like fundamental change to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's definitely something to be said about, like, again, there's a lot of aspects to this. On the one hand, I think it's great. Like, I wouldn't change anything about the inflation rate of the Atom token on the Cosmos Hub because it helps maintain what Cosmos is, like this network that that is operated by the validators, and these validators are experts in running blockchains, and that's great. But what about people who are not, like, you don't want everyone in the world to be concerned about the discussions of how to model these chains. Like, it's just not everyone needs to be an expert in like how the Cosmos Hub works, and yet they want to like participate in an ecosystem, and they want to like invest, right? And I'm going to use that word, but very carefully. I think it's a human right to like choose what ecosystem and like platform and cause you want to support with like the tokens that you hold. And so far, like, what's the competition out there? There's the dollar, there's Bitcoin, there's like other chains, sure, but I think what we need to start answering is like, how do we know that the token that we're holding is actually working towards good? Is it just enriching the miners and the validators? If the Cosmos Hub were to offer another token, like the beta coin that I mentioned, that is not meant to be like staked to have governance voting rights on the Cosmos Hub, but it's just there, and you're not expected to do anything with it except hold it and use it, then to me that completes like the self-sustainability of the Cosmos Hub in the context of like this world. Because now you have both people who are not programmers, who are not going to spend the time to like understand what a delegation means by like understanding all the political like biases each validator has with regards to every, topic. Like, no, like you don't want everyone holding Apple stock voting on measures, right? You want some kind of this separation. But, so if we can create a token that people can just hold and not require them to delegate it and not produce, another like yield chasing system, but help people like hold it and use it to incentivize promotion of this ecosystem because people believe that it's actually going to improve the world, then I think that's a huge win for the Cosmos Hub. And I would love to see something like Betacoin. On the other hand, so that's just looking at the Cosmos Hub. I have a lot of ideas here, but a big picture that, a big idea that I want to see pursued is like the ability to create UBI experiments, like being able to give everyone a voice, like an account and tokens, and then allowing the freedom of anyone to support this token by buying it to support UBI voluntarily. And out of this platform and this token and the interest behind it, you would also, as a side effect, get a better governance model where people can actually be heard and where we can experiment with better models of democracy. Because like I don't know which representative to vote for. I don't know these people. I know people in my own circle, right? It's like there's something flawed about the way that our democracy works that's being exploited against our own interests. And I think more coding, more experiments are needed here, and I can see how it can be done. And it integrates and ties nicely with this idea of providing UBI. And it's different than Betacoin, but I want to see that through. So I want to make sure Gnoland has that as its mission to pursue UBI experiments. But just from switching hats and looking at the Atom and the Cosmos Hub, I see the Cosmos Hub also wanting Betacoin. Maybe the solution here is to get both, and then to have support for Betacoin, fee payments on Gnoland. I'm not sure, right? We'll figure all that out.
Has that been some of the early discussions also in the beginning of the kind of like creation of the Cosmos Hub? And is there, are you aware of any like actual discussions around it? I saw your Twitter thread that you made about Betacoin, but is that anything that you think realistically somebody is currently working on, or?
When it comes to something like Betacoin?
Yeah. On the hub.
On the hub, right? Yeah. I've seen some interest from the No group, but nothing yet that like a team that already understands the SDK and is trying to build it out. So yeah, if you already understand the Cosmos SDK and you like this ecosystem and you want to improve, Atom and the Cosmos Hub, I think that team should make a proposal, right, for something like Betacoin. And I think the Cosmos Hub and all the stakeholders should vote on whether to adopt that. I haven't seen much of that myself yet. I'm hoping that the ICF takes steps up in doing this. But I don't control the ICF, so it's kind of up to us to pressure the ICF, perhaps, or maybe we can. Hopefully, we won't have, we'll have transparent organizations on Gnoland. Maybe we'll do it through Gnoland and offer it to the Cosmos Hub.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people from the ICF and also from other teams are listening to this and might resonate with some of these thoughts. I think your thoughts and ideas are very much valued. Like everybody that I talk to, whatever organization, speaks very highly of your ideas and your thoughts. So yeah, maybe there's something that comes even out of this, or a follow-up, or somebody contacts you or whatever to get more clarity, and there could be some actual proposal coming up. I think it would be really cool to see something like that. Let's talk a little bit about kind of like broader competitive landscape. of kind of like layer zero or like internets of blockchains, right? Which is what Cosmos was envisioned back then, I guess, from you and Bucky in the early days. And I guess back then there was not really any competitor out there that even dared to try something like that. And now it's there, right? IBC is a reality. This thing works, as of now at least. But then there's some other projects like Polkadot, which came around much later. And I think now this need and also this recognition that, interoperability and probably also like chain sovereignty is something that could be the future of this space. What are your thoughts on the competitive landscape on Cosmos as an entirety compared to anything else that's currently out there?
I think the sovereignty, that we've all accepted as a core value in the Cosmos ecosystem, is going to prove itself and is proving itself already with the diversity of approaches and ideas. And like I see a lot of tech out there, but I don't see a lot that just works and is trying to keep it all simple. But here we are. So we're just at the cusp of like massive IBC networking. When the tool becomes easier, more people will see. This, along with Gnoland and other projects that are gonna, airdrop to the Atom and Cosmos ecosystem altogether, I'm really bullish. This is where I'm gonna stay, and I want to see us evolve as a community to offer this to the greater world, and I think we're all aligned there.
Jay's bullish on Cosmos. There we go. Yeah, and I also see, like, from a content creator perspective, and I'm just a cosmonaut that learned about it and had the luck that people like Jack Zempolin and others very early on walked me through, and I've never seen this in any other ecosystem out there, neither from the like Ethereum people nor from the whatever Polkadot people, Solana, Cardano, you name it. Cosmos in that sense I think is truly unique, also in the amount of people that are willing to help each other to get up to speed, to get educated, to understand how this space works, and literally taking the time to walk people through. And you can also see this from the community perspective itself, right? It's just booming right now. It's exploding, and everybody's very, very excited about all the things that are happening and all the things that are coming up. And I think a lot of people are also really excited to see you back, and in the community, and hopefully we can also do this more often, and also get you involved also more in these community spaces that we have. There's so many going on. What are some of the we talked about this very briefly regarding the kind of like decentralization aspect of Cosmos. Do you think like over time that's something that will be naturally kind of like be fixed? I mean, right now, obviously, since most Cosmos chains are less than a year old, right? I mean, Osmosis, Juno, you name it, it's not even a year old. So of course, the kind of like distribution is less decentralized. That's something that's been around 5, 6, 7 years. What are your thoughts on the general decentralization of Cosmos, and how far can we go with on a consensus level, but also on a kind of like higher level in terms of chains, and I think the app chain model that Cosmos has plays a large role in that. So what are your thoughts on kind of like decentralization in Cosmos as a whole?
I think it's working out well. There's a lot of experiments, lots of tokens. It's really good to see people who have their own ideas of how to create a better chain actually go about doing it, creating their own community and their own distribution. Maybe, so, in terms of decentralization of movements, like of people into groups that have a shared value, we're doing well, but I think we could do better if we make it easier to create groups. Now, where can you really do that? Through a few clicks, you can create your own community with its own communication platform, its own treasury and its own set of rules. I think we will see so much more with just the right kind of tooling. I'm bullish on seeing that activity on Gnoland because it's just going to be so easy. I'm also bullish on seeing that from other other ways, like Juno has a way. The Cosmos community is working on making it easier to launch new chains. Ignite is working on something, right? So the sooner we make it easier to create goal-based platforms with good communication coordination, the better. The sooner we'll see all that activity. It's already the case. So I'm happy with decentralization now, in short, and I'm looking forward to a lot more. The idea with Gnoland boards is each of these boards, kind of like subreddits, is also, not all of them, but a lot of them are going to have specific goals in mind with people who are managing it with its own treasury. So in a way, all of those are going to be their own DAOs, right? And Gnoland's going to host all these DAOs. Not every DAO needs its own chain, but the ones that do will need to use different tooling, right? Now, when it comes to decentralization of the Cosmos Hub, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Maybe, in terms of number of validators, it seems like we've got 150 right now.
150. Yeah.
That's,
150. Yeah, I think it's being expanded now to 175.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't grow that too quick. That's just me, because it is nice to have the additional validators, but it does bloat up the space in terms of signature space. I like to see more of better pruning of data, really old votes should be discarded, etc. Because the Cosmos Hub chain size, with everything, no pruning is already on terabytes, 2 terabytes, right? It's quite large. So I think that increasing the validator set of the Cosmos Hub slowly is better. We don't quite need to do it now, but there's a lot, that the Cosmos Hub can offer. So, for example, this is the model that I was exploring with Jahan for shared security. You can allow more validators to perhaps stake their Atom or Beta coins, and join a pool of validators offering the validation on any number of chains programmatically, say from the Cosmos Hub. So that's the Cosmos Hub continue to focus on what it's good at, which is staking and slashing and consensus issues, right? But it also allows more validators than 175 or 150 to participate. So I'd like to see that kind of feature being grown out to allow for more decentralization. But I also want to see more, I'd love to see more tables of validators and what their stance is on how the Cosmos Hub should evolve. That way the stakeholders can delegate appropriately. I'm happy with the number of validators there are today on the Cosmos Hub. I don't think that's the place where we need to innovate on. So just to answer that in terms of decentralization.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more things we could talk about. But yeah, I think we can move on. We're already way above the hour mark. Before we get into a few community questions, Cosmoverse is coming up, and I have to ask you. I already invited you last year. You couldn't make it back then, but Are you in for this year? Late September?
Late September, man. Please ask me again. I can't answer, guarantee anything yet. I try not to fly, I try not to travel too much. And I like not moving around so much. Man, that was hard. Just traveling around the world, trying to talk about Cosmos. Like I'm glad I did it, but it took a mental toll on me, and I really like just chilling out a little more.
No, I mean, would love you to come, obviously. And I think it would also be cool for you to see. When was the last time you were at the Cosmos conference, actually?
Must have been like 2 years or more ago.
2 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be cool because this is like entirely community organized. The team were just 4 cosmonaut people, that are enthusiastic about it, and there's just a lot of cool conversations. So I think if you come, it would be a very relaxed and chilled experience, So and for you, I think it would be nice to see also how this community grew over the years, and to see how many people, and there's so many. I literally have requests, and people are already like buying their tickets. They're already telling their friends and tagging them and say, hey, we should go there, this is so cool. So I think it would be cool for you to see also how this community grew basically organically over the years. So you're cordially invited to join us this year.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Means a lot. Yeah, so let's get into some of the community questions. I got this question a lot. I picked questions on Twitter. One of the most common questions I got also in my Telegram group is, what are some of the Cosmos chains that you are excited about other than the Cosmos Hub? Like, what are some of the projects that you think are really, really cool in Cosmos?
Well, I'm really excited about Osmosis. I think Osmosis is really cool, the way they make the UX so nice. I spent so much time just programming on Gno that I'm afraid I'm not the best person to ask. Yeah, I will just say that I've seen a lot of the applications being developed, and they're very interesting. I don't want to mention too many at this time, but ask me again soon.
Fair point. Adriana is asking, if you were to redesign Cosmos with all the learnings that you have today, what would you make differently?
Ooh, yeah. I think one thing I would have done is I probably would have put the funds in the pre-mine for the ICF, maybe put it on chain. I think the original intent of the ICF was to spend those tokens for getting the right alignment, and I'm sure they're doing great work now. And there's also the community tax on the Cosmos Hub, but I think it would have been better to incentivize good governance to be built out. I suppose a big part of it is that the tooling wasn't there, right? So we still have this rudimentary, although it's state of the art, still limited in what Cosmos Hub governance can do. I think with Gnoland, we're going to have fantastic opportunity to create better user experience for management of these tasks and governance decisions. So I don't know. I don't know what I would have done differently, honestly. Yeah, I definitely needed all the help from everyone who contributed for the launch, and that was an incredible journey. And it's not clear how we could have done any better.
Fair enough. Jepson is asking, will there be a day when TPS will not keep up with demand? I guess a question about the sustainability of the performance tenement-based chains?
I think, yeah, I mean, it will always be an issue. If you have a successful system, then the transaction per second requirement will go up. I think we have a fantastic tool for helping solve the scaling problem. It doesn't solve it all the way, but it gives you the tool of a communication channel of IBC, right? So, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think it's important for blockchains to be like massively decentralized. That means easy to verify all the transactions, easy to run a full node, easy to understand. And that means limiting the amount of transactions that you process, even though the fees will be higher than you might want, right? Because we need that, not because like that's going to be the best for, I don't know, making money perhaps. I don't know how that's going to balance out, but we need something that focuses on making this decentralized, massively decentralized, distributed.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, cap the TPS, right? Try to solve things through scaling, and let's innovate on how to make it easier for more validators to join other zones, and let's figure out how these zones interconnect, right?
Yeah.
So TPS will be a problem. We have a good solution for it. Let's exercise that solution.
Yeah, fair point. Nick is asking, what do you think, what are your biggest criticisms of Atom and Cosmos? Is there anything that you're really, really not happy about or that you're criticizing?
No, I don't want to, there's nothing that I can pinpoint that's like, this has to be better. Not yet.
Fair point.
Yeah.
And then Lukichin, he had a lot of questions actually. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but there's like 5 posts that he made with like 4 or 5 questions each. One of them is, what's, I guess, referring to the entirety of the crypto space, but maybe if there's also something in the Cosmos space, what do you think is missing? And is there anybody working on this? Like, what do you think in this space is missing? And is there anything that's in the works to fill that?
Well, without talking about Gnoland.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, obviously we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Here's one. I think we need better internet. Okay, so here's what I mean. Like, so what are the threats like to this ecosystem we're creating? There's geopolitical threats, and if you consider the worst of threats, it's like a threat against your network. Like disallowing your validators from even communicating together. And I think that's it's unlikely to happen, but it's a possibility. And we have an option to build a robust system. And that's kind of what we're here for, right? The whole point of making this BFT, consensus system is so that it is indestructible. It's strong despite people who are trying to take it down. I don't think we've put enough focus onto our internet layer. So just having, the Tendermint was designed so that these validators can use any protocol they want to just share packets of information like votes, and then the consensus system works. So it's based on, you only need gossip, kind of like Bitcoin. You don't need point-to-point connectivity. I think there needs to be more infrastructure built out where you can have nodes that are participating, that build a virtual network overlay to ensure, to incentivize the creation of a mesh net, both in the virtual, like as a virtual overlay where you've got just machines that are using the traditional internet, but also incentivize the creation of like point-to-point connectivity using all kinds of hardware, radio, lasers. So like, this is something that like Jahan was working on. I keep mentioning his name, but like this is something else he was working on with Althea. And I think we have the technology now to really build that out and incentivize it. I think there's a good reason to have it. These validators, full nodes need connectivity. We need to incentivize, secure communication among them. And even as we build applications out, people are gonna want, privacy. Like, so there's that brings me to like Sentinel. So we've got this other blockchain being built on the Cosmos ecosystem called Sentinel, and they're trying to basically make more accountment a Tor-like system. Well, it's a VPN, but on top you could build something like Tor. And I'd love to see them, like, or other projects build an overlay to provide more concrete guarantees on like on privacy of communication. And yeah, I think that's the kind of infrastructure we need to build all the building blocks on top, including better like email replacement and so on. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Let's try to put, let's do all kinds of things on the network layer, not just focus on DeFi. Not only we can experiment with putting nodes, full nodes and validators, creating representation on chain, right? Sentinel's doing something similar. We can also go further, incentivize the creation of real connectivity and to incentivize a mesh network. There's a lot we can do there, and we need it.
Did you look into a secret network at all, or?
Not enough. No. Can you tell me about it?
I mean, they're pretty big on this whole idea to, preserve privacy, or at least have the option. So they have implemented a meta privacy layer, also on a smart contract basis, where you can build private applications. And they launched a couple of cool products in that space. I can't tell you now on a technical level, obviously, all the details. But I think the general idea is very interesting, also for the NFT space. But also for the DeFi space, but just on a general level, just to preserve the privacy. And they're also, they used to be on Ethereum, I think, and then they entirely shifted over to their own Cosmos chain a bit over, I think, around a year ago or something like that. So yeah, that's also, I think, an interesting project, and they're super big on. I mean, one of their founders is called Tor, like. So yeah,
one of their founders is what?
It's called Tor. So yeah, they're pretty big on privacy as a whole. So yeah, might be something if you're interested to learn more. Like I can also put you in touch with them if you want.
Cool, I will do that.
Yeah, but yeah. Other than that, I think we can wrap it up here. We're above 1.5 hours already. But this has been really, really cool. I truly appreciate your time, all your thoughts about everything that you're working on, every idea that you have. I'm sure you have many, many more, and we'll hopefully hear these in the future as well. Just let me know whenever you want to do this again, when there's more updates you want to share. Also on Twitter, we can organize spaces there if you want to engage also closer with the community. Other than that, people are really thankful for you coming on. Gabriel is saying thank you, Jay. So yeah, any final words, call to actions with the community? Feel free to share whatever is in your mind.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine. Go fork Gnoland and compile no key and try to write a comment on the thing and get started. That's it. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks everybody also in the chat for the engagement, for the questions, for sharing this. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people appreciate this. So yeah, we'll keep in touch, and yeah, take care, Jay. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one.